and it's 6 o'clock. So, folks, welcome here now. It's 6 o'clock here in my home in Sedona, Arizona, and that means it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast, 6 o'clock on the West Coast, and wherever you may be, anywhere in this big wide world tonight. This is our April 9th program, so we want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. And I know as you know, Blog Talk Radio went off the air, I was using free conference call, but I was also getting some of the complaints that people could hear in the background. But I've learned how to mute everybody there. Let's see. Uh, I just had a. I just want to make sure that everything is good. Okay, because I'm getting text messages coming in. And that kind of lets me go. And then here on Facebook, people are saying that the sound was good. And yes, thank you, folks, for those. 2 days ago was my birthday. Okay, all right. So, but that's done. It's over. It's another year for me. Another year around the sun that I had taken, and it was a birthday date for me 2 days ago. But all is well. I just had a kind of a quiet day, but I'm here at my home in Sedona, Arizona, and it's starting to get warm here now. I mean, Arizona's the hot state. Everybody knows that. But Sedona's a little different because, see, Phoenix is at 1,100 feet elevation, but here in Sedona, we're up in the mountains. We're 4,500 feet elevation, so we always run about 10 to 12 degrees cooler than Phoenix. So in July and August, when it's 112 degrees in Phoenix, it's usually only 99 to 100 here in Sedona. In fact, it doesn't really hit 100 all that often. And because it's such a dry heat, it's very tolerable here when it's 98 and 99 degrees, because 99 degrees here is like 84 and 85 in southern Florida where I used to live. So, but we got more people coming in. I got 16 people now on free conference call, and I'm just kind of letting people kind of come in just a little bit and kind of get us all going. And everything should be working fine there on free conference call because I've got you all muted. So as I said in the past, hadn't quite learned what to do, and I would bring you folks on, but your microphones were all open and everybody could hear what was going on in your background. I mean, you could be on your phone, but you could have kids yelling and screaming, you could have dogs barking and who knows what, and then try that with 20 to 30 people. So, but I took care of it, so we're good to go. Okay, so I've got 2 minutes after 6, so why don't we go ahead and I'll start with the announcements. Okay, so now April 9th, Wednesday. This coming Saturday, we have our workshop here in Sedona. And folks, I have 9 seats left available before the room will be full. So if you're still interested and you want to go, you need to send me an email so I can at least get you on the roster and save you a spot on the roster. Because what happens in the last 3 and 4 days, there's always some people that come in at the very end. So just to let you know, I've got room for 9 more people for the workshop here in Sedona on Saturday. Now, I'm in the process. I have already scheduled it. I've already taken care of the reservations for the hotel. May 10th, 4 weeks from Saturday, we're going to be in Denver. I haven't been to Denver for about 2 years, so it's time to go back there and say hi again to those folks. So May 10th. Tomorrow or the day after, I'll send out that the registration is open for the workshop in Denver. So don't do anything, don't send me anything until I send that out so I can keep you separate from Sedona and Denver because there's a little overlap of a few days there. So now, tonight's program, I want to share something that is very dear to me, of something that I've learned and something that I absolutely believe in. And that's how the power of human thoughts. We live in a world where if we desire things, if we want things, the most important thing that you can do is to understand and be in touch with the power of your thoughts. Because even now, science at the level of quantum physics has proven your thoughts create your reality. Whatever it is that you're experiencing, whatever it is that's going on in your life, you're the one that's creating it. Now, it's important to understand it doesn't come from the conscious thoughts, because you may be going through some absolutely crap. There's horrible things going on in your life, and you're not going around consciously thinking, I'm going to be crapful today. I'm going to experience all this crap and nothing's going good in my life. That's not how it works. It's not the conscious mind, it's the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the power center for humans. The subconscious mind holds the memories of every life that you have lived for thousands and thousands of years. It's like a master computer hard drive. That subconscious mind holds all your memories, and it also holds all the habits that you have created through your thoughts. Now, what do I mean by that? Something comes up in front of your face, and how do you react? You're reacting out of the habits that you have developed in the subconscious mind. And that is what is going to create the experiences that you have. 95% of the day that we live is experienced from the memories and the habits of the subconscious mind. Let me say that again. 95% of how you react and what you experience through any given day is a product of the memories and the habits that you have developed coming from the subconscious mind. But here's what's interesting. It's programmable. If you don't like it, you can change it. You can change what it is. But it's your thoughts that become so powerful in your ability to do that. Now, I'm going to play a couple videos tonight. And let's go to, I need to go over to my other, my other little spot here. And I'm going to play a couple videos about basically what is the power of our thoughts. So let's start with this one here, okay? Oh, there we go, this one. There we go.
It's natural to wonder, are people affecting the world and reality that they see? You betcha they are. Every single one of us affects the reality that we see, even if we try to hide from that and play victim. We all are doing it.
Just tell me where you are. Good. But hurry with it, please, because these models are giving me a headache.
10 minutes.
In the molecular structure of water and what affects it. Now, water is the most receptive of the four elements. Mr. Emoto thought perhaps it would respond to non-physical events. So he set up a series of studies, applied mental stimuli, and photographed it with a dark field microscope. This first picture is a picture of water from the Fujiwara Dam. And this picture is the same water after receiving a blessing from a Zen Buddhist monk. Now, in this next series of pictures, Mr. Emoto printed out words, taped them to bottles of distilled water, and let them out overnight. This first photograph is a picture of the pure distilled water, just the essence of itself. These subsequent photographs, as you can see, are each different. This is the chi of love. And we move along here to thank you. And you can see where he taped that to this bottle here. But if you read Japanese, you already knew that. Now, Mr. Emoto speaks of the thought or intent being the driving force in all of this. The science of how that actually affects the molecules is unknown, except to the water molecules, of course. And it's really fascinating when you keep in mind that 90% of our bodies are water.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If thoughts can do that to water, imagine what our thoughts can do to us.
Absolutely. Thought alone can completely change the body.
Most people don't affect reality in a consistent, substantial way because they don't believe they can. They write an intention and then they erase it because they think that's silly. I mean, I can't do that. And then they write it again and then they erase it. So time average, it's a very small effect. And it really comes down to the fact that they believe they can't do.
Okay, so that's the first video that talks about the power of your thoughts. Now, let me share something that what quantum physics science has come to understand. We live in a world where cell phones are so much a part of our world, and it's always really interesting how I can pick up a cell phone and I can dial a number, and within 5 to 7 seconds I can be talking to somebody on the other side of the world. What happens is I plug this in, this phone number, I hit the dial number, it decodes the number, and then it sends out a signal wirelessly to a local antenna, then to another master antenna, and then sends that up possibly to a satellite or other master antennas. And then it goes to halfway around the world where it catches a master antenna, comes down to a local antenna, and then connects to the phone that I called because the internal antenna there. It's all a decoder, and all that takes place in 6 to 10 seconds is how fast that does that. That's the technology that we have today. Well, and these phones send out these little tiny electromagnetic signals is what they do. Well, the human brain does the similar thing. When you have a thought, the thought produces these little tiny little electromagnetic particles called memes. And these memes go out and around you, and they begin to impact the stuff that goes on around you. You first start, you have the thought. The thought then affects the electrons and protons at the quantum level, the subparticle level. Those come into a spot where they collect together, and then the memes send them out, and those memes begin to impact what's happening in your life. Well, how does that mean that? Because there's a background in this, and I still don't totally understand this yet. But it's important to understand that the world we live in from pure physics science is not a physical world. There is no pure particles of physical particles. It's holographic. It's all energy based, and these energy based, particles are creating this hologram that we see all around us. But the brain, the subconscious mind, has been programmed to believe that it's physical, so therefore we experience it as physical because that's the programming that we have within us. When people learn how to rise above the programming of the subconscious mind, those are the people that can perform what we call the miracles. And the best example of that was the life of Jesus, how he could teleport his body anywhere he wanted to because he understood truly and completely he was not a physical being. He was a holographic being, but the power of his thoughts could do what he wanted to do, and he learned to rise above the programming of this physical third-dimensional world. And for most of his life, he was living in a higher dimension. And that higher dimension, the energy of that allowed him to do the miracles that he did, heal the people that he did, teleport his body and go anywhere he wanted to. And it's always interesting because when he lived that life, he lived it as an example for us. And he said, and this is actually recorded in the Bible, everything that I do, you can do also, and even more. You can learn to do everything that I do. But to do that, we have to first step into believing it, because your belief creates the energy of your thoughts, and then we have to reprogram the subconscious mind. Now, that takes a lot of work, but we are moving into a new era where the energy of our earth is shifting and changing, and this new energy is going to allow us to start stepping into this type of a lifestyle of living beyond the limits of the third dimensional reality and moving into a higher dimension. That's the power again of human thoughts. Now, let's watch this next little movie again about the power of our thoughts. I'll read this, it comes up quickly. Quantum physicists discovered that physical atoms are vortices of energy that are constantly vibrating, so every material structure in the universe, including you and me, radiates a unique energy signature. Bruce Lipton.
As mentioned earlier, everything is made up of infinite potentiality, and the moment consciousness decides to create from that, creation takes place. The findings of physicist Thomas Young in his famous double slit experiment helps to show this, and while doing so sheds light on the quantum field and how our entire reality operates.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marbles, two bands. What? An interference pattern. We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. We get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought, maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So, they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they can interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits, and it goes through neither. And it goes through just one, and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched.
So what does this tell us about our reality? It tells us that the moment there is consciousness viewing and defining how things should act, the infinite potentials act in that manner. The electron acted in the way consciousness defined it should act. We see two slits, we have particles. We define that they must pass through the two slits and create two lines on the other side. However, before it is defined, the particle carries out every possibility. It is limitless. Consciousness, the observer, who we truly are, is in control of our entire reality. How we define our world and what plays out is entirely up to us on a collective scale. The world is infinite potential and infinite possibility. Our consciousness can shape it in any way we choose.
The world is infinite potential and infinite reality, and it's our consciousness, our thoughts, that determines its outcome. This is new for most of us. I can remember, what is this now, 2025? 12, 15 years ago, there wasn't hardly any of this stuff happening on the internet, and hardly anybody knew and understood this. You can now go on to various pages on the internet, or just allow your Facebook to go there, and you're going to find stuff like this coming out every single day. We're now being educated. We're now being brought into an awareness that we are the creators of the world that we experience. So that means, that raises the question, what kind of world do you want to experience? If you've got a lot of problems, a lot of bad experiences going on in your life, it's important to understand, in the world of quantum physics, there is no such thing as a victim. You are never a victim of what somebody else has done to you. You are the creator of those, allowing those things to come to you. Your thoughts do that. And that's why it's important that we learn how to be so totally in touch with our thoughts. Because if you want to have a better life, you have to be the one that's going to be willing to change it if you want to experience something better than where you are now. So what is the real obstacle to sometimes these positive thoughts? The greatest fear, the greatest enemy to humans is the power of fear, fearful thoughts. When you're in a powerful, high thought capacity, your energy vibration is going at a very good, strong, high vibrational rate. Fear shuts down the positivity, puts you into a low vibration status, and shuts down all the potential of the creativity of what you want to bring into your life. Fear is your greatest enemy. Your greatest enemy. One of the most important things you can do is to learn how to spot fear. Fear is an energy. You will feel it before you actually mentally notice it. Learn to recognize the feelings of the energy of fear and then just stop it. You can choose to do that. I've done that in my life. Probably 15 years ago, I was going through experiences and I realized I was going through a major change in my life, and I wanted to have some stuff in my life. I wanted to do certain things. And then one day it hit me. I'm not experiencing what I want to because I was experiencing a lot of fear. I had a fear of failure. I had a fear of being made fun of if I tried it and it didn't work out. And I realized fear was stopping me. So I was determined I was going to learn how to overcome fear. And I've done that. It is extremely rare for me to have what I call a bout of fear. Now, you're going to have the fear of flight or survival. I'm not talking about that type of fear. That's a normal reactive fear that can be a very positive, healthy fear. The fear of flight or survival if something comes up at you and you need to make a quick change. I'm talking about the fear of what you think people may be thinking of you, the fear of failure, the fear that I cannot do that. Once you learn to overcome that, your life begins to change. And as I said, it's extremely rare for me to have what I call a major bout of fear. I can't remember the last time that happened. But here's what I do know. Once I had learned to work on my fear and I wasn't experiencing fear hardly at all, that's when all the thoughts came to me about moving from where I lived in Washington State and moving here to Sedona. And when I came to Sedona, my life dramatically changed. Why? The biggest thing was because of fear. I wasn't fearful of moving here. I was looking forward to it. It was a very positive shift and change in my life. My whole life just started changing. And I think that's why I'm here today. Why I get to do what I do today. Why I'm being entrusted with releasing these billions of dollars to people when it comes time for the funds to be released in the currency exchange. Because I have learned how to take control of it, and I've learned how to not let fear be any part of my life, and I continue to visualize the positive outcome of why we are all here. So those are the things I wanted to share with you tonight. So here's what we want to do now. If you want to call in, okay, now here's what I need to do. If you want to call in, I think if you're on your cell phone, you dial the number 941, okay? And otherwise, also, you can go ahead and raise your hand if you want to call in, you got any questions or any comments that you would like to make. I think that's what I had learned how to do, was to, you basically, 941, if you dial the 941 on your cell phone or on a touch-tone phone, that's a way. And also, there's a way that you can raise your hand here in the process here on free conference call, okay? And I'm not seeing I'm not seeing any comments on here on the Facebook page where everybody's wanting to do anything. And I'm not seeing anybody saying that they want to call in. So I think then we're ready to call it a program tonight, folks. It's 6:28. We've been going for almost a half hour. And we should see you then next week, okay? Thanks a lot, folks. Okay, bye-bye.